Please subscribe to the channel. Thank you, and on with the program.
Test 1, 2, 3. Okay. Welcome to the Sunday Side Piece edition of the Inside and Out program. Today's headlines: Fire in the Sky, Science Island, Beam Me Up, Tiny Fossil, Big Change, New Magic Mushroom, and America's Camera Invasion. All this and more today on my desktop broadcast Inside and Out. My name is Jason Ochsner. Thank you so much for joining me on this lovely Sunday, March 29th. And our first headlines: Fire in the Sky. Well, we've talked about meteorites all last week, everything from Ohio, Texas, California, and it caught the attention of scientists. And they started, basically scratching their chin and going, you know what? Maybe there's something here. Maybe we could check out and see what's going on. No, they're ahead of us. They've always been ahead of us. But it is quite amazing. I would go to science.com, check out this article. The only thing I'm going to talk about on this article, real quick, to kind of catch you up to speed if you haven't been following all the things that are going on with the meteorites here lately. But reports, I'm waiting for this computer. It's lagging a little bit. I think it's down here, what I wanted to share with you. Give me a second. Oh, yeah, right here. In January and February, there were reports of roughly 1,500 reports throughout for meteorites. That's kind of like the average. Well, in March, there was almost, uh, I guess, a third as much because there was 2,369 reports in March. Almost a. There's a season for meteorites, but not all meteorites, are some migratorial bird that comes around. There's other things to it. So I would recommend checking out the article and learn more than what I'm reporting and get caught up to speed because as far as I know right now, we just have us simple folk just sitting on the planet, just trying to relax, watch some TV, and all of a sudden, boom, someone's getting hit with a meteorite. It's kind of crazy, very crazy out there. All right, our next story is Science Island. Well, who built Science Island? Well, Science Island, yes, it's built. It was built by China. Let's see. China launches world's first floating artificial island designed for all weather deep sea scientific research in Shanghai. Now, it's pretty cool. Look at that thing. At first, when I looked at it, I thought it was a model, but it could be the real deal picture. It's kind of hard to tell, but if that's what it is, that's pretty cool. Go to Global Times, check out this article. Basically, obviously, they're going to use it for weather research, but it's this big giant base capable of carrying large, heavy pieces of equipment for deep sea research. You know, and I just think it's really, really cool that we have Science Island right here. You know, very, very cool. You know, uh, uh, see what they find out. Let's see what they learn. Speak about learning. Maybe we should go to another place in time. Maybe be beamed up. You know, that's kind of cheesy, but um, beam me up. That's my next headline, and that's because we're talking about teleportation, and teleportation is no longer just science fiction, according to National Geographic. Let's see what's going on with this pop up. You know me and my technical difficulties, at least not at a quantum level. Look, I'm not going to deal with that. Go to National Geographic, check out this article about teleportation. Basically, what I'm assuming they're talking about data, and they're talking about being able to send data. They're learning about resonant frequency in some shape or form. I'm just assuming these things. That's not the real deal. That's what I'm picking up, like my download from the universe. That's what I'm picking up. It's learning how to do that. Uh, See if I'm wrong. Look it up because I'm having technical difficulties on that right now. So I'm just going to jump on to the next story because it's Sunday and we're just doing this as a little side piece. All right, our next story: tiny fossil, big change. Well, they've. I don't know if you know this, but in the time of the big lizard, we're waiting. Computers lagging. In the time of the big lizard, we had this small furry guy. You know, when all the dinosaurs were big, any mammal on the earth was small. Like a prehistoric horse was like the size of like a small dog back in the day, or at least that's what I've always understood. All right. I think it's up now. Let's see. Let's see if it's up. Yeah. Tiny fossil rewrites dinosaur era history. This is in the Mongolia Gobi Desert. I recommend that you read this article, courtesy of MSN.com. Um, but look at that cool picture. This is the Times of India. So maybe go to this article here, Times of India. I don't know if I'm gonna have that on there or not, but you know how I roll. Put all these links are on the description below. But a centimeter long, basically a little more than a centimeter long, you know, this tiny little animal, is what was competing against these building sized lizards. I mean, imagine what it must have been like back then and how it was the like opposite. Bugs were humongous and so were lizards, but us furry folk, we didn't stand a chance. Not against that. Not against that at all. Right? Well, let's jump to the weather. See how our atmosphere is doing right now. Today we're at 54 degrees in my lovely hometown, and it's going to drop down to 48 tonight. That's not too bad since we've had a very chilly last 2 days. And then we're going to roll on Monday with 62 degrees, just slightly cloudy, and only a low of 57. So that's pretty exciting. I'm gonna try to do a couple little things today because yesterday I was just too butthurt about going outside. It was a little nippy for me, so I kind of did all my inside work. But maybe I could do something out there. All right, next headline: new magic mushroom. All right, this is scientist discovery, I believe. We'll cancel this. All right, just allow. Just let's go. All right. Science discovery: new magic mushroom species that rewrites evolutionary history. Check out this article because, I mean, check out that mushroom. Let's keep this out of the hands of the children and out of the psychedelic connoisseurs. Um, let's keep this safe in the hands of scientific reason. Okay? All right. I'm reporting this for scientific reason. ScienceTech.com. Check this article out. Now, the last headline is something I've noticed, and I don't know how I feel about it because I've liked it. I find it interesting, but still, there are some scary concerns. And that is, have you looked around your neighborhood lately and noticed that there's been cameras popping up here and there? One on a road sign and maybe one on a light pole, just little by little on a road. Usually has like a small little solar panel next to it. You know, little by little. This is courtesy of theconversation.com, by the way. And I'm not trying to dig into super conspiracy theory because this is real. But cameras have quietly appeared in thousands of U.S. cities. Now, their integration with AI is starting to allow sound alarms. That's what they're reporting. But I'm not going to jump all the way into the AI. I'm just seeing it. We're not even as fast as AI. I mean, we didn't even know there's a camera. All right, but there's cameras. Cameras are popping up everywhere. And at first, it was just used for the municipalities of the local areas and maybe the states, just to monitor things, mostly traffic and stuff like that, and obviously, to follow up on some crime stuff. But it's popping up more and more and more, and now they're going to integrate all this stuff into AI, and obviously, it's going to get into a big, large database. Which, when it comes to fighting crime, I think all that stuff is super good. I get it. I get it. I get it. But it's just, I guess for me, it's just a scary time that I realize that the younger people following me will never understand that we were free. We had a thing that you guys will never have. We had the right to privacy. this whole thing was private to us, meaning that people couldn't invade our space. They could, I mean, you could come around and be. I'm just saying you couldn't just randomly videotape and follow and it. I don't know how to explain it, but it was free. We've lost a freedom, and some freedoms you lose are for protection. Like like a child. Well, I just want to be free. I want to go run around the playground. I want to play all day long. You know, well, without someone removing that freedom and protecting you, might not be here. So, like I said, I'm not the one to be the authority on decision making. I'm just here to just point out things that I've noticed, and I've noticed a lot of cameras popping up everywhere, and they're all going to be integrated into an AI system, and that AI system is going to be a big database. And just like all these futuristic movies, just like all the stuff that we've all thought about, it's all going to be just this one. Everybody's just going to be known. We're all famous. We're all famous now. You know, yeah. I mean, it's you have an AI. What do they call that stuff? The paparazzi. You have that. Followed by a bunch of other initials. I'm sure. From whatever government authority. But thank you guys so much for today's program on Sunday. I call it the Sunday side piece. I'm off on the weekends, but I'll see you guys tomorrow. And, I always forget, but I'm not forgetting today. Please go to www.holobodiexperience.com. Check out and learn more about me, especially my passion for music. That's what I love the most. And I'm kind of sidetracked with that right now. And this has helped become an aid to my anxious insides. But check out my website, holobodiexperience.com. Learn more about me. And thank you guys so much for today's show. And I hope you guys have a wonderful Sunday.